athletes were seeking a place to be on this campus where they felt culturally they would feel comfortable. And so the students who were on campus, most of the diverse students were athletes. And they got permission to use a boathouse down the hill. And the students of color, athletes and non-athletes, would all crowd in there together to share the space. That was the beginnings of a cultural center on campus. And in that space, the organization was born. Oh my goodness, the win, probably something like, the win, 2002, 2003. I was newish to the university. I came in August of 2001. And I sort of sat back watching how things were working on campus. And someone reached out to me to say, hey, we have this student organization that needs an advisor. And I said, I'll try it. Maybe a year or two, we'll see what happens. And I'm still here. We've had some wonderful experiences. It was a good fit for me professionally. I was brought to the university as a clinician to work with students at counseling and psychological services, but to work with diverse students. And so this became part of my gig, that I would go to the then Culture Center and talk to students, to talk about what was going on with them and any needs they had that were related to them being students of color. So that grew into what CAPS now does, Let's Talk, where they have satellite services for students who need therapy as well. Absolutely. I was a first-generation low-income, underrepresented student. Those are the students that I serve here in Oasis. And I seek to be a light for any student who has concerns, issues, or curiosity about diversity issues on this campus. If you look at the definition of what the organization says is their mission is to be about the needs of students on this campus who are African or African American. With that, they seek to serve as the Black student government to help students on this campus. So with that, they are the voice of students, be that political or apolitical. They are seeking to help students find their way on this campus, feel supported, and be retained. And so as a part of the retention of students on this campus, that means reaching out to the student who doesn't know anyone. And I've seen our students do that. The different times they've got business cards and they'd go out and just give them out to students of color who are walking across campus. And that was the coolest thing, because it would help unite students to something bigger than themselves. And they're not out there all alone. All of a sudden they have a community. And that's what APU seeks to do these many years later. To not get in the way. This is not about me. It is about me being in the shadows and helping the student board do what it wants to do. Now, each year you have a new set of leaders, and so you have a brand new president, brand new first vice, brand new second vice, and they're all trying to find their way to being the kind of leader who will take APU to the next level or to do something really powerful in the Black community. And so I'm always seeking to help them find their way in doing that without getting in the way. Now, the problem with that is I sort of know the rules. I know exactly how much they need to give of their time and to balance being a student leader with being a student. I also know who they have to talk to on campus to get certain things done. And I also know how it could be difficult for them, to get students to want to participate, because the different periods of time, students want to be in orgs and sometimes they don't. And so with that, trying to help them find their way becomes my challenge without, again, getting in the way. Having young officers is a good thing because then they stay there a long time. They grow up into the roles that they have and they can create something that's really special. APU has the really good fortune of being involved with the Black Student Union, which is sort of pushing all students of color to talk to each other more. And I'm very hopeful that that will help after COVID is over for us to all get back together again. It's really hard right now to have meetings for any student organization because we can't physically be together. If the group is larger than 50, you get shut down. So the whole point would be to have these really big mass meetings, but you can't. You can do as much as you can on Zoom, and for some that feels good and for some it does not. If you've been doing Zoom all day for classes and then, oh yeah, I gotta go to APU meeting, ugh, do I wanna do that? But I encourage people to go because there's a sense of community in that space where they get to talk about, oh yeah, it was really hard in Zoom today because, or I'm really missing coming to meetings because. The mission is to educate all students on campus about diversity, specifically about Black people and helping Black students be retained at the University of Nebraska. Students who are involved in APU are students who would find themselves at the marches. These are students who are seeking to make sure that things get better. And so they put themselves out there. To my great fear and trepidation, of course, because I'm aware of all the potential bad things that could happen. So I'm worried about them like I worry about my own children. But they are the students who are the leaders. And so they would be out there. I am hopeful that APU retains its voice as the Black student government, really speaking for change on the campus, in the state, and everywhere. Our leaders go on to do really great things, and I would love for some of that to be amplified so people would know who the students from APU are and all the wonderful great things that they do. The story. They would tell the story of what students feel on this campus as Black students. That's a little different than saying what the story would be for a student of color. Because every student of color's experience is a little different. When you have as your identity as Blackness, and Blackness is perceived so negatively, it is a challenge and a strength. A strength in recognizing this is who we are. These are the people that we are. And there's greatness among us. And then at the same time is recognizing that historically that Blackness has not been perceived well. That if the person being represented in the moment is a man, if he gets on an elevator, people are going to cringe away from him out of fear. It's overwhelming when we are at a place of learning. I would have all of my students not have the experience of being left out of a group presentation because of the color of their skin. And I know that it still happens because students come and tell me about it. And that breaks my heart. And it gives me something to continue to fight for on this campus. I simply want to remind all students, all 25,000, that you can come to the Gaughan Multicultural Center. It is not a space that is just for Black faces or brown faces. It is a place for all students to come and learn together so that we can do this conversation about race things better together. We can't get better if we don't come together. And that would be my last thought.